They keep saying it'll pass. Grief has a shelf life, they tell me. 6 months, a year, you'll wake up lighter. Nobody says what happens when it doesn't lift, when it just turns into something else, something with teeth.
I remember the exact chair I was sitting in when I understood that my life had split into a before and an after. Beige, cheap, the kind of chair a hospital buys in bulk because nobody's supposed to sit in it long enough to care if it's comfortable. I sat in it long enough to care. I sat in it long enough to memorize the weave of the fabric, the little burn mark near the armrest where someone's cigarette had scarred it decades before smoking was banned indoors. I stared at that burn mark instead of at the doctor's mouth, because the doctor's mouth was still moving and I had already stopped being able to hear the words as anything but a sound, a low tone, like a plane passing far overhead.
After that, people arrived. That's what grief looks like from the outside. An arrival of people. They come with casseroles and soft voices, and they touch your arm like you might shatter. And maybe you might. And they say the same 6 sentences in different orders, like a liturgy nobody wrote down, but everyone somehow knows. I'm so sorry. Let me know if you need anything. They're in a better place. Time heals. You're so strong. Call me anytime. Nobody calls back when you call them at 2 a.m. Nobody actually wants to know if you need anything, because the honest answer is, I need this to not have happened. And there's no casserole for that. I stopped counting the days somewhere in the 3rd week, not out of peace, out of exhaustion. Counting requires a kind of hope, a marker that says this many days closer to okay. But I ran out of the hope before I ran out of the days. Nobody warns you that grief has a twin. They talk about the sadness, the crying, the hollow ache in the sternum, like something's been scooped out with a spoon. But they don't talk about the other thing that grows in the same soil, feeding on the same nutrients. Until one day, you can't tell which one is talking when you open your mouth. The anger didn't arrive all at once. It came in increments so small, I mistook each one for something else. Irritation at a slow driver. Impatience with a coworker's small talk. A flash of heat when someone complained about a bad day. A bad day that was, by any measure, a good day dressed up as a bad one. I told myself, I'm just tired. Grief tired you out. Everyone says so. But tired doesn't explain the way my jaw started aching from clenching it in my sleep. Tired doesn't explain the dreams, where I said things to people I loved that I would never say awake. I woke up almost disappointed that I hadn't. The truth, which took me a long time to admit, even to the mirror, is that I was angry at everyone, and beneath the anger, quieter, uglier, something that took even longer to name. Envy. I hate that word. I hate that it's true, because they got to keep what I lost. They got to keep laughing at their tables while I sat alone at mine. And some nights, that was worse than the grief itself. Not missing what was gone, but hating the people who still had it. Hating them for the crime of an ordinary Tuesday. Hating them for a normalcy I used to have and didn't know to protect. want to be honest here. Because it does. It always did. Loss just introduced us properly. I want to talk about the well-meaning people, because they deserve their own chapter in this, and not the villain's chapter. Though some nights I wrote them into one. My aunt told me God had a plan. I did not throw the coffee cup I was holding. Though I want credit for that, because in that moment, throwing it felt like the only honest response available to me. A plan. As if loss were a puzzle piece being fitted somewhere I couldn't see. For a picture that would make sense later if I just had faith. I have never wanted to set a table on fire so badly in my life. My oldest friend told me to try journaling. My manager told me to take all the time I needed. Then emailed me 9 days later asking when I'd be back. Phrased so gently it took me a full read-through to realize it was a demand. Grief is not a country you can visit and then describe accurately from the postcard. You have to have lived there. And most people, God help them, haven't yet. Or they have, and they've forgotten how loud it was. Because forgetting is how you survive coming back out. But knowing that didn't stop the anger. If anything, it fed it. Because now the anger had a shape, a target, a whole population of people who meant well and hurt me anyway. And it is so much easier to be furious at someone than to sit with the fact that the universe itself did this to you, and there is no one to make it right. The universe doesn't take meetings. The universe doesn't apologize. People do. Sometimes. Badly. And so, people became the place I put what I couldn't put anywhere else.